Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time here on this Monday night, October the 28th. Thanks for hanging out here with us on the Prime Time program. Lovely to have you guys in for another episode as we get you ready or get you primed and ready for Game 3 of the World Series. You got a little Monday Night Football action as well. It's the sports equinox for those who celebrate. Congratulations to all. Baseball, hockey, football, basketball, all upon us at this most wonderful time of year. Wouldn't it be fun to be enjoying this most wonderful time of year as a Titans fan? I understand why you are not, because your season has been over for quite some time. You've got a lot of different issues that are going on right now, and you're trying to figure out not just about this year's team, because for the most part, you guys are done with this year's team, right? Even though there's still 10 more weeks to go of this nonsense, they will have to finish the regular season. There is no run ruling or, waving the white flag on 2024. You got to see this thing through. But now it's obviously not about 2024. It's about, okay, did we put the right people in place to try and get this thing corrected? And do we trust those people who were put in these positions to actually do the jobs that they were tasked with doing, but to date are failing on so far? That's the thing that we're going to work through tonight, because Rand Carthon gave an interview to our friend Nick Suss of the Tennessean last night while we were all in Detroit. Nick just approached him in the locker room, and Rand was willing to chat, gave him some quotes on how basically what his message to fans are at this point. Brian Callahan also answered the same question and discussed today at his press conference whether or not he feels like the vision for this thing is still on track based on the impressions that everybody came into this year with and came into this offseason with, and how much the winds have shifted in the opposite direction from the place that this franchise thought it might be on October 28th. So we're going to talk about why, or if you should still trust these two individuals. And I know it's not just Rand Carthon. Chad Brinker belongs in this discussion as well. Amy Adams Strunk, obviously, as the Titans owner, belongs in this discussion as well. But for the people that the collaboration vision was sold on, do you trust the principal parties to fix all the problems that now have befallen this particular football team, and in fact have gotten worse since they took over this football team? We'll work our way through it together. Before we get started, I need you guys to share this show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch in the comment section. If you are so inclined, we would be happy to have your participation. If you know another miserable Titans fan and they need, he or she needs a place to commiserate with more miserable Titans fans, invite them to come hang out here with us, and we will work our way through this online therapy with you together. Retweet it on Twitter. Share now to public in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen on Facebook. YouTube and Twitch, like the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you've done both of those things, copy and paste the link in a text message and send it to a friend and say, hey, we got to talk about this coach and this GM, this administration that was brought in to improve things and have only gotten worse since the start of 2024. Once you've done that, and as more of you guys trickle in here, we'll get this thing going and make sure that you still have the opportunity to take in all the great sporting events tonight. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the fine people at Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $100 on your no danger first wager in the Zen Sports app. Made possible by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. By True Math Fitness in the Gulch. True Math Fitness, where your first workout is free, no workout ever recycled or repeated. Go to truemathfitness.com for more information. And like I said, your first workout free. Clayton on YouTube gets us started this evening saying the Titans are like the show Pimp My Ride. They give you shiny new things, but the problems with the actual vehicle are ignored. Rick Bates says Sad Boy Radio. Yes, I left my Sad Boy Radio hat downstairs, but Wednesday on the radio show, we will have an announcement as far as the Sad Boy Radio hats that will be available to you. We're going to raise some money for charity with them because I don't want to profit off your sadness, but I would like to make some money for charity off your sadness if you guys are willing to participate. I'm pretty proud of the hats. I think they're funny. I think they're good looking hats. You just got to be willing to wear sad boy on your head. But I guess it's better than a paper bag watching your football team play at this point. So the state of the Titans right now, 1-6. We are almost at the halfway point. Next week will mean that your misery is more over than not at this point with a 1-6 football team. And depending on what happens with the Patriots, I mean, there's a school of thought that this team could be 1-7 with the Patriots now having one more win on the seasons than does Tennessee. Everything that's happened, though, has been really, really disappointing to watch play out. I said this on the radio show today because Ran Carthon gave an interview in the Tennessean, and Brian Callahan was asked last night on what his message to fans was. Brian Callahan last night said, well, I can't really focus on that right now. I'm just trying to do, I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm trying to do the best job that I can to win football games. I got to focus on that first and foremost, and then, fan satisfaction obviously will come as a result if you start winning football games. Ran Carthon was approached by Nick Suss of the Tennessean in the locker room. Just to do a quick Q&A, Rand said yes. They published the interview. That interview went up today, and there was a lot of different things that were in that interview, but the theme of it was just stick with us. We believe in the process that we are putting in place to try and get this ship turned around, and that's all well and good. And I am in support of not second guessing yourself. I am in support of not bailing on an experiment 8 weeks into the experiment. I don't think that's enough time for anybody to get something like this right. But what I will acknowledge is that the product is worse and not better, and that this organization, and I don't mean just Rand and Callahan, and I'm not putting this on the players, certainly, but as an organization, they oversold themselves, and while rebuilding, forgot basically that they were rebuilding because they got caught up in the excitement of all the new, just as much as you did, without proof of concept. So now their quotes are being used to whack them over the head with after the fact because they're 1-6 and nobody gives a shit how good how good the honeymoon phase was in the offseason if you can't show proof of concept. So Trey Reed says, the old welcome from Buck. That's right. That's how you know we're getting the show started. If I might malfunction if I tried to start the show any other way. Bork says, spin it to us, Buck, on the side of the Titans, stuff. Well, listen, I'm not going to spin one way or the other anymore because I did legitimately buy into what it was that they went about acquiring this offseason and the way that they went about acquiring it. I was under no impression that this thing would be as rotten as it is, nor that it would be worse. I am shocked, truly shocked, that the product on the field is appreciably worse than it has been in the past 2 seasons. That's really, really hard to do. I gave out a bunch of stats on the radio show today about just how bad this loss was. It's the 4th worst loss in Titans era football. So in 26 years of Titans football, that was the 4th worst margin of defeat by total points that the Tennessee Titans, since they became the Tennessee Titans, have had. They had all manner of different malfunctions, and it was on a day where the offense looked like it was maybe able to keep pace or at least play a competitive game in the early going against Detroit, and then sandbagged itself with turnovers, special teams gaffes, and short field opportunities for Detroit to capitalize on. So now it becomes, okay, let's start with Ran Carthon, and let's just take this piece by piece. In the comment section, your Two Rivers Ford take, what is your level of trust in Ran Carthon right now as the Titan? Let's say, what is your level of trust in the Titans front office? Because it's not just Ran Carthon, it's Chad Brinker and their staffs too. What is your level of trust in Ran Carthon to get this thing turned around? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch is where you react. We will discuss at length together. You'll hear from Brian Callahan on the vision, essentially, here in just a moment. Right after I remind you that your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun. They are also Ford Truck Central. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, where you can get all the best quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service that you've come to know from Two Rivers for over 4 decades. TwoRiversFord.com for more info. What is your level of trust in Rand Carthon at this point? Curtis goes above average. He says a solid 6.5. Anthony goes below. He says a 4. Jonathan is at a 2. Craig Baxter is fence sitting. He says a 5. Levi is out. He says a 0.0. Mr. Blutarski. Puka said Rand had one draft, according to many, he had control over. I'm willing to I don't know how much I'm willing to go in on that. You know, he's the general manager, Puka. Like, I get what you're saying, and that Cowden was the person that put together the draft board, Ryan Cowden, who was the interim GM, and that there were a lot of John Robinson people here. And by the way, there's still a lot of John Robinson people in the front office. They have retained a fair amount of people. Wow, the Dodgers just went up 2-0. Freddie Freeman again. Who is having a better postseason so far than Freddie damn Freeman in Yankee Stadium right now? Dodgers take the 2-0 lead with at the top of the first. Just crazy to see the way that this man has continued to deliver. I think that in particular, Rand Carthon should get a little bit of grace on his first draft, which includes Will Levis. I also acknowledge that he is still the general manager and that you can't just absolve him of the sins if he was even a fraction of a part of the process when he arrived here. Now, January to April, he was hired in January. Of course, they drafted in April. It's a pretty quick turnaround. You got a million different things going on. Again, I will grant him some grace on 6 and 11, but now they're worse. Now they're 1 and 6. And this is a roster largely of his own making. They have cleared out just about all the John Robinson folks from a player personnel standpoint. This is a roster that was put together largely by Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker and their respective staffs. So while I do acknowledge that 2023, they get a little bit of a curve on 2024, this is on them at this point. And so I think that is a fair, the context of each of his respective off seasons can be taken into consideration, and you can decide whether or not you trust them as a result. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust Rand Carthon at this point? Well, Brian Callahan was asked some version of that question about the vision, the shared vision that they have. And I do think that there are some things to look at and say, yeah, I understand the direction that they're trying to take this thing. Whether or not they're going to be able to do it in 2020, I mean, the answer, they're not going to be able to do it in 2024. They will have another offseason. They will have another opportunity theoretically at a quarterback, whether it's a rookie or a stopgap veteran before they draft another rookie will remain to be seen. But on the Rand Carthon front, his draft this year was solid. They are all playing reasonably well. J.C. Latham and Tavondre Sweat look like foundational cornerstone pieces. You would have said the same thing about Will Levis last year, though. So I would just kind of keep that in mind. That just because something looks promising in the moment does not mean that it will develop the way that you think it is supposed to develop. Curtis says he's still cleaning John Robinson's mess, and John left a big old mess here. That is completely fair to acknowledge. John Robinson's performance as a general manager didn't just start to dip when he traded A.J. Brown, but that was one of the crowning achievements of failure during John Robinson's tenure, and the repercussions of that are absolutely still being felt. But I will say this about Rand Carthon. I think that I am at a 4. I'm not out on their front office structure. I think that they deserve more time to get this thing right. I think that they know how to present themselves, certainly, but the product on the field is not representative of how they've presented themselves. So there is a little bit of that, salesmanship there that I'm going to be more wary of next time around when we go through this whole offseason. And while I understand that there is so much bad that they had to flip, and it can't all be done in one offseason because we talked about it. You know it couldn't be done in one offseason. That's why I thought they were going to be 7-10. I do think, though, that there is a part of me that is super skeptical about whether or not they're going to be able to pull this together in a reasonable enough time frame to make this thing meaningfully competitive, because the thing that they don't have is the quarterback, and the thing that is the most important thing to get right is the quarterback. And I don't know that necessarily there are going to be any clear and obvious solutions to their quarterback problem this offseason. They may have to patchwork this thing together for a year to try and get it right. They may not have the time to do so because we're already looking at Brian Callahan and his staff. Like, are you the right people to get this job done? The coaching staff is a part of this, right? Rand hired his coach. His coach is 1-6. His coach, I don't think Brian Callahan's a bum, right? Like I don't think that this person is unintelligent. I don't think he's a stooge or any of that. I just think that he's in over his head right now. And that doesn't mean that he can't get better, but that it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough at 1-6. You're the second worst team in football right now, and that's only because the Panthers organization exists. So I would say a 4. I'm more wary than I've ever been of the salesmanship part of this, but I am willing to allow the process to play out more because I don't think they've been given sufficient time to do the thing that they are trying to do, which is to get this team closer to the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, that's how I judge you. Are you closer to the Super Bowl than you were the day before? Are you closer to the Super Bowl than you were last month? Are you closer to the Super Bowl than you were 6 months ago? The answer to all of those things is definitively no. In fact, if anything, it makes you feel like you're getting further and further away. Now, I can tell you that Rand Carthon and the product on the field, like once Rand gets through the offseason, his job is not done, but his job begins for next offseason. We are now in, theoretically, Rand's kind of offseason to an extent, even though it is the football regular season. So he went out and got pieces and parts to try and make this football team better. The football team is appreciably worse, and the quarterback is a big part of it, but Will Levis hasn't played in 2 games, and the Titans wish that their only problem was Will Levis right now, because obviously you see that they are broken on a variety of different fronts, more than just a quarterback whose decision-making is questionable at best. So I think that Rand Carthon gets a 4 from me right now. Not out on him. Don't distrust him. Don't have a reason to distrust him, nor Chad Brinker. But I've heard a lot about all this collaboration and all these different processes that they were going to revamp and how much money they spent on Brinker's analytics staff and building all that out and everything that we've talked about that was going to try and modernize the Tennessee Titans. And I see a 1-6 football team. So 4 is about as good as I can do. 5 is not a position. 5 is just sitting on the fence, and I'm more out on all of them, that I'm more out on the organization at 1-6, obviously, than I am in on the organization at 1-6, right? So I can't give them a 6 or err on the positive side of things when the process has gone so poorly to date. But I will acknowledge that the process is still ongoing, and so I think a 4 feels reasonable. 4 feels like a reasonable assessment for the level of trust that I have right now in the Titans front office structure, which of course is headed by Rand Carthon. A to Z Sports Prime Time is presented by Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. Get the intel edge you need to succeed with the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. So with all of that, Craig Baxter says he'll go 5.5. JDH says, what round would Jeff fetch? Jeff Simmons? Oh, I can't imagine that Jeff Simmons would get more than a 3rd round pick at this point. And I think you guys would go nuclear if you guys traded, if their front office traded Jeff Simmons, the best player on the football team, for a 3rd. I think you guys would shit. I think you guys would absolutely lose your minds. So while all the reporting around Jeff has been that he's not somebody who's available for trade, I largely think that's because they wouldn't get what they would want back for Jeff. One, because he's not having a great year. He's not even having a bad year, but he's not special. I need Jeff Simmons to be special And there are fleeting moments where you see it, but there are also moments this year where he's getting, driven definitively back into the end zone on that 7-yard touchdown run by David Montgomery, by Penei Sewell, who's got him locked up and drives him out of the way. And they're running up the middle on the Titans defense. And apparently nobody's supposed to be able to run up the middle on the Titans defense and all these different things. Like, Jeff is a good player, but Jeff has not been, I would not say that Jeff has been above average this season. And obviously that's what you expect him to be. And also he's hurt. So a hurt player who's not living up to his billing, it would be tough to get more than a 3rd-round pick back for Jeffrey Simmons. So I can't justify selling that low on an asset that you think can still bring something to the table with T'Vondre Sweat moving forward into the next couple of years. Esco says he can't play with that brace on his arm. Well, then he can't play because he needs the brace on his arm. He's got a bum elbow. He's got a torn UCL. He doesn't have to have surgery right now, but he has to have some kind of stabilizing factor to it. So you can make excuses for him if you want to, but the thing about football players, this is a production business. This is why I feel the way that I feel about the coaching staff, about the front office, about the roster and the personnel. This is a production business. So you can make all the excuses that you want, and you can say, well, yeah, this, that, and the other, and whatever you want to say to cope with why it feels so bad. And listen, I get it. I'm not killing you for trying to cope or trying to find reasons to be optimistic or say, yeah, okay, but maybe this can turn around, whatever the case may be. But if you are out there, if you are available to play in the football game, then the expectation is for you to produce. And you are going to be judged based on what you are or are not able to produce. So while I acknowledge Jeff's situation, I am cognizant of it. I am respectful of Jeff's situation. Jeff Simmons does not produce at the rate of a player who is supposed to be a top 5 player at his position. And I would like to see that more on a consistent basis. And I don't know if I'm going to see it this year because of the mitigating circumstances. So that's where we are at with the Jeffrey circumstance. And with the Rand Carthon circumstance, I think that a 4 is about as much as they deserve right now. You don't have to be out on the front office. I don't necessarily think you should be out on the front office yet. But if I told you after all the things that you did and all the things that they said to you this offseason that you would be 1-6 before Halloween, you would say fire everybody. I'm fairly confident the majority of you would say fire everybody at this point. So from Rand Carthon to Brian Callahan, we'll talk about your level of trust in Brian Callahan coming up next, because I would imagine that those conversations are different right now, given what the coaching staff was handed and what the coaching staff has not been able to do with what they were handed. Puka said it used to be you couldn't judge a coach until year 3. Yeah, but now coaches don't get 3 years, Puka. And I'm not saying that that's right. That's like quarterbacks, right? Rookies. You used to have to wait about 3 seasons to determine whether a rookie was good or not. And now that people are so anxious to try and win at value and win before these rookies make it to their second contracts, the rookies don't get 3 years anymore. You either produce right away or they move on from you and they try and find somebody else. And whether or not that's an effective strategy, in fact, I would say it's far less effective than more effective on a regular basis. You can't expect owners to have that level of patience with the product that they spend billions and billions of dollars on and also make billions and billions of dollars on. But still, this league has never had less patience with more expectations right out of the gate. Is it fair? No. Does it matter if it's fair? No. Life's not fair. The work isn't fair. Sports aren't fair. Sports should be fair. They strive for fairness. They strive for competitive balance. But that's a key word in there, competitive. This is not a competitive football team, and that's why you're kind of looking around and saying, well, okay, do I really want to buy in anymore to what they've been selling, because what they've been selling is a 1-6 product. So with everything that's going on right now, let's talk about Callahan. What is on a scale of 1 to 10? What is your level of trust in Brian Callahan as the head coach of the Titans through these 8 weeks? We will workshop that together right after I remind you that TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch makes this show possible. No workout ever recycled or repeated. I had a great workout on Friday at TrueMav Fitness. You know, that's my TrueMav day. Go in there for a little arm farm Friday, but you can get full body workouts. You can get personal training to specifically work on a part of your body or an area of your body to improve conditioning, strength training, just physical wellness, feeling better, sleeping better, eating better. TrueMav Fitness will help you accomplish all of those things. Go to TrueMavFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. What is your level of trust in Brian Callahan at this point? -17, says B French. Like I said, is erring on the side of cautious optimism. He said a 6. 2.3 in Cali, we don't trust, according to ESCO. 10, I would trust him to drive my kids to school, says Benjamin Buck. Okay, but I don't care about driving your kids to school. I mean, I'm sure, I hope your children have a safe ride to school, to and from school every morning and every afternoon. But I don't give a shit about whether you trust him to drive your children to school. Do you trust him to coach your football team and to improve your football team? Puka says a 7, so she's trending more optimistic. Anthony is riding high. He says he is new, guys, and he is driving us to the top pick. He's not doing that on purpose, so I would not give him credit for things that he does not deserve credit for. 6 for Eric Reed, 6 for Anthony Clay. So you guys are more in on Callahan than not. And frankly, I'm a little bit surprised by that because I'm definitely not higher on Callahan than I am on Rand. Because, you know, from my perspective, I don't know how much more Rand could have done to get more and better players in here on a quicker turnaround, and a coaching staff who's not been able to do more, in fact, has done less with better players, really, really has me scratching my head. Brian Callahan was asked about the state of the Titans right now, the state of the franchise, and kind of the state of the vision that the two of them, Carthon and Callahan, the collaborative effort, all the different buzzwords that you heard, that they set out with this offseason to try and apply to this franchise. And I'll let you hear Brian Callahan's response today at the podium. Okay, I guess for some reason that's not playing. Bert's going to work on that for us, and we'll see if we can't get that up and running in a more efficient manner. Bert's workshopping it behind the scenes to make it go. Is he frozen? Says Ben. No, we're working on it right now. That's a back end thing that I can't help you with in real time. But Bert will effort that clip for you because I do think it's worth hearing, and I can read you the exact quote if the video won't work tonight. But we'll see if we can't effort that video for you here in just a second. Curtis says Bert must have a shirt on tonight. Yeah, when he puts a shirt on, it negates his superpowers. But here's what I'll say about Callahan, even before you've heard the response to this question. I do think Brian Callahan is an intelligent person. I do think that Brian Callahan will eventually have what it takes to be a successful NFL head coach. I do not think that he is doing a good job right now. I think that that's an easy thing to say at 1-6. I think that they are a bit underwater as a coaching staff and trying to bail themselves out, right? We talked about a sinking ship and bailing water out of the sinking ship. Well, they're bailing as fast as they can, but the product isn't getting better. Now, I will say that, beyond the second quarter goal line situation where they had four plays to punch it into the end zone and at least make it a 2-score margin instead of a 3-score margin between them and Detroit, that was some bird brain type of stuff where they throw the ball 4 times when Tony Pollard's on your roster, and Tony Pollard's been the best offensive football player that you have this year. They don't run it once. I will of course say that was a terrible, retrospect in hand. I know I'm armchair coaching, but that was dog shit, respectfully. I guess I can't say dog shit and then say respectfully, but you get my point. Like that was poor. The first half passing offense, I was like, okay, they're pushing the ball down the field. Mason looks clearly more comfortable. He to me is still the best option that they have at quarterback on the roster. Besides the turnovers were ghastly. The first interception was clearly and obviously on Mason Rudolph. The second one was just a great play by the safety. So I'm like, all right, for the most part, like I see something. I see signs of growth in the passing game against a defense that's solid. defense that's good enough. And then, the thing tailspins on special teams the way that it does. And the defense can't defend short fields that often the way that they're having to do. And then the turnovers compounded and you lose 52-14. So I know that you can't, it won't let you take positives out of any of this stuff, or it will not allow you to take positives out of any of this stuff. But I'm really struggling with the coaching staff in particular, because specifically what we were told is the coaching staff is here to improve the state of offensive football in the state of Tennessee. And the state of offensive football in the state of Tennessee is worse. They average less than 2 touchdowns per game. They did get 2 touchdowns yesterday, but that improved their margin slightly because they were averaging 1.8 touchdowns per game before yesterday, and then they scored 2 touchdowns, so it'll bring it up a little bit more. They are not very effective in a drop back passing game, but we understand their offensive line issues. We understand the quarterback issues, and we understand that they're still trying to feel things out. But I can't, if I'm going to go 4 for Rand Carthon, I'll say 3 for Brian Callahan. I think that he can get better. I think that he can grow. I think that he can learn. I think that he is made of the right stuff to do this job well, but I cannot give you a passing grade at 1 and 6. So while I acknowledge all the different things about Brian Callahan's situation, I am trending in the wrong direction on Brian Callahan because I want them to problem solve. I want them to improve. I want them to show progress. They're saying that they are seeing progress. That's a tough sell after 52-14 and 1 and 6. It's just really, really difficult at this point. He's not going to fire Colt Anderson as special teams coach. He talked about that today. I don't know if any coaching staff changes will be made right now. We still have 10 more weeks to determine those things. I guess it's made even more visceral because of the coach better, play better line last night that makes you want to scream and tear your hair out. In fact, I can't play for you his clip from today, but I can play for you that clip from last night where he's being grilled on a variety of things, including the special teams coach.
All right, no injuries to report. Nobody left the game and didn't return, so there's nothing to report there. This is how you get beat by a really good football team at their place. Turn the ball over 4 times, you don't take it away once. You give up an unbelievable amount of return yardage in the return game, both in kickoff and punt. Put our defense in short field. They scored 5 touchdowns in all 5 possessions that they were down in there. We allowed too many explosive plays, and we had too many penalties in the first half for sure. The positives of it are they only had 1 touchdown when they started in their own territory, but they started way too often in ours. Our defense played well enough, but again, the short fields didn't come up with any stops and found ways to let them score touchdowns. Other than the turnovers, I thought our offense moved the ball, especially in the first half against a good defense. We put this 14-14 game at one point, thought we had a good rhythm going, and we had a chance to keep the game tight, and we were playing good football. And then that's how the game gets away from you against a good football team. You give up a punt return for a touchdown, you give up a long kickoff, you give the defense another short field, and then you ultimately turn the ball over 4 times. And at some point, we're going to stop doing that, and we'll be able to play a competitive football game. But until then, that's what they look like when you turn it over like that and don't get any turnovers in return. So it's just not good enough anywhere. And again, you play a good team on the road that's built to capitalize on mistakes and make you pay for them. They did, and that's where we're at.
You have guys in the locker room, they get paid to play. You got fans, they're paying to watch you guys.
Yeah.
When they see a performance like this, what do you say to them? What kind of hope do you give them to want to attend any more games?
Look, I'm not really in the business of trying to provide all that right now. We're just trying to play better football, and that's my focus. Putting guys out there that we fight. Our team plays hard, but we got to do a lot of things a lot better. And right now, it's not a product that people are excited to watch, and that's the way it is. We got to do something about that.
Your special teams have been overall horrific today, especially. Yeah. What's Colt Anderson done that says he's anything but a guy you were good friends with who might be over his head and too early in this position?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all that. That's obviously we haven't played well enough on special teams, but that's a little bit too much for after a game.
Why?
But look, I think Colt's a good football coach. We haven't played well enough. We haven't coached well enough, so there's really nothing else to say about that.
We haven't played well enough. We haven't coached well enough. Nothing else to say about that. So he said that they looked through the special teams tape this morning with Colt Anderson. He trusts Colt Anderson to correct the problems the same way that they stopped getting punts blocked and things like that. But it's I mean, it's a great follow-up from Kaharski. Why? I mean, it's a completely fair question to ask of this head coach at this point. Now, I will say that Paul kind of undermines himself by the way that he asked the question, right? Because I do think that while fans appreciate it, our job is not to, this may sound pretentious or whatever, but like our job in press conferences is not to sound like you guys, right? Like not to kind of, and not that PK was like outright unhinged or anything like that, but I mean, PK asked that question like he was reading something out of my Twitter mentions, and I just don't think that's going to get a productive answer, even though I think the question is fair, right? The question is completely fair. And nor do I think that, I mean, he's completely justified in asking why after the fact. It's just everything on the lead up. What has Colt Anderson done other than be like a buddy of yours is a pretty crazy way to ask the question and expect any kind of response other than for PK to, just be who he is. And I appreciate that. Christian says, I take offense to that, Buck. I mean, I get it. Listen, I understand, because there's, that almost comes off as, and I know you're teasing there a little bit, but like, I don't want to do the high and mighty media thing. We're like, oh, well, we're not fans. We shouldn't ask questions like fans or whatever. And when Paul does that, I know he hates when we say it, but like Kaharski never sounds more like a Titans fan than when he asks questions like that. Even though the principle of the question is correct, the delivery is something that is could be improved. Could be improved. Benjamin Bug says you should totally read off our questions in the next press conference. That would just be like doing a real live mean tweets without the subject matter being willing to laugh at what's being said about them. Because I don't think Brian Callahan would appreciate some of the tweets that you guys send me about him on a regular basis. Ocho says PK keeps it real. I mean, yeah, that's real. I totally get that Paul feels the way that he does, and that the special teams is ghastly, but you're just not going to get a productive answer that way, right? Like there has to be some level of diplomacy that does not make it feel like an attack, even though it is attacking one of the things and that deserves to be attacked, right? Special teams is nightmarish. It's awful all year long. And again, it's one of those things that's not getting better; it's getting worse. So I just don't know. I just don't know what you're going to get out of that exchange, other than for him to shut it down. Clayton says saying don't listen to the fans is like saying don't listen to your customers. Well, yeah, it's not that we shouldn't listen to you guys; it's that we shouldn't ask questions like you do, right? We can ask a question based on something that you're upset about. So let me take that. Let me hone in on the special teams thing, for example. So you're pissed about the special teams, and I go into a press conference and I ask the coach a question. Instead of saying, "Hey, why is your bum buddy not doing a better job on special teams? Why don't you fire his ass? Why don't you leave him in Detroit? What do you have to say about that, coach?" And then hold a microphone to his face. The better delivery off the question, that is a reasonable question that you guys have, is, hey, can you help us understand what's going wrong on special teams and why Colt Anderson is the correct person to be overseeing this thing? Because it looks like it's getting worse on a weekly basis and failing on a variety of different fronts. Like, I think that's a refined version of what you guys are asking, without the emotional attachment of, I'm a fan, I'm pissed, I pay money for this thing, tell me about this, you bozo, and then fire your buddy afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So Clayton says we talk from the heart. Yeah, but that's fine, but that's not our job. We are supposed to be unemotional in these moments. And I would be lying to you if I said that I'm unemotional about it, or that Tehran's unemotional about it. Actually, I think Tehran's pretty level-headed about it most days. Jimmy is level-headed about it. PK is not, but that's okay. Like, he's got his own style. We all are different people. And yeah, I would be bullshitting you guys if I said watching terrible football doesn't piss me off on a weekly basis. But I'm not going to bring that into a press conference setting, because that's not a conducive way to get actual answers to the questions. that we're asking. That's just kind of how it should be. A level of, as Esco says, a level of professionalism that comes from a genuine place and that asks questions on behalf of you guys, but just in a little more refined manner, right? Not to say that you guys couldn't do it, but some of you get caught up in the moment and you let the emotions get the best of you, and then you're screaming at Brian Callahan, fire that bum, stuff like that. So that's the only thing that I'm trying to distinguish between there. The dude doesn't even know the special teams rules. Talking about Colt Anderson. Well, they were different when Colt Anderson played. You know what made me laugh today? And it's got nothing to do with why the Titans special teams looks the way that it does. In fact, I'm going to tell you what made me laugh here in just a second, and then we'll get Bert's segment out of the way because I know he's waiting patiently to get on with his night. The thing that made me laugh today is, you remember the worst special teams play in the history of special teams? It's that Patriots-Colts game where the Colts have number 17 getting ready to snap the ball to number 22, who's a safety, and you've got two Patriots lined up on the other side. They're trying some kind of fake. I think this was Chuck Pagano, was still the Colts coach at the time. And all of a sudden, the fake doesn't fake anybody out, and the Patriots bury the guy, and the Patriots get the ball at like midfield. And it's the worst special teams play I've ever seen in the history of special teams. And then I realized, as somebody pointed out to me today, that Colt Anderson is the person taking the snap on the Colts, which, again, has nothing to do with why the Titans special teams look the way that it does. But I'm looking at that and saying, oh, my God, like if fans get a hold of this at large, they will just use it as an excuse to think that Colt Anderson is a special teams bum because he was simply a part of one of the worst special teams plays in history. It's symbolism. It doesn't have an actual meaning, but it is symbolic. It is symbolic of just where things are from a special team standpoint right now. I think that if with everything that's going on at this point, you're going to get solutions by the end of the season, but you still have 10 more weeks to get there. So it's going to be a long 10 weeks, but that's what we're here for. We'll get you through it as a unit. Okay. In case you missed it, Bert is going to make us aware of the things that we may have missed while we were all watching shitty football together. Maybe some of you turned it off. Maybe some of you were able to enjoy the football Sunday in ways that I was not. But either way, we will get to Bert right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Download the app. Bet on baseball, basketball, hockey, and football at Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN. Get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Yeah, that's it. What do you got, Bert?
This is John Glennon. I wanted to be Tehran. Where's Tehran?
I deleted Tehran. Why are you using the podcast graphic instead of?
I guess I'm John. Hey, I'm John Glennon, Pilgrim. Welcome to the first Thanksgiving, Pilgrim.
Pilgrim? You made John Glennon John Wayne? I don't think those two human beings could be more opposite if you tried.
Have you ever seen John Glennon? He bears a striking resemblance to John Wayne Gacy. That wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be.
It was kind of funny.
Over the
Not
weekend,
Glennon, but it was kind of funny.
A lot of I don't like this either. I need to be on this side of you. There we go. Now we're in our correct places. Either way, this weekend, a lot of boneheaded mistakes in the NFL, whether it was the Ravens dropping 4 interceptions against the Browns, whether it was the Titans giving up 52 points on the road. There were a lot of boneheaded mistakes in the NFL this week. But one of those boneheaded mistakes gave us probably the greatest play we've seen this season.
Comes down to one last play. And it's going to be getting longer by the second. You're all the way back at the 30-yard line. Now you can step into it. Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line. And the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle! It's Noah Brown! Oh, my goodness! This town is going crazy.
If he would have said, is going to burn, that would have been awesome. But Jaden Daniels to Noah Brown, Hail Mary, that burns because the Ravens have had a Hail Mary situation hit just like that on them. A.J. Green, I remember Will Hill went up, tried to tip it, bounced right into A.J. Green's hands. That is why you play your man and not the ball in Hail Mary situations.
You want to show the opposite angle of the person who was supposed to be defending said Hail Mary, because we haven't gotten to Tyreek Stevenson yet.
What a stud.
Oh, we can't play it. What is going on?
Here, I'll start it over. So you can see him at the beginning of this play, kind of talking to the fans. Oh, yeah, on the ground.
Watch him tip this pass up to the person, to Noah Brown, who catches the ball. For 29. Tip. Oh.
That's the kind of stuff that
Wow.
would make me drive my family off of a freeway on the way home from a game.
Oh my God. I mean, they put him up in front of the media today. Apparently, Eberflus, the Bears head coach, said he showed accountability with it. He was talking shit because he thought the game was over. He is supposed to be man-to-man on the guy who caught the touchdown pass. So that's about as poor a look as you could possibly have. The fact that he's late, that it's his guy, the fact that he tips it up into the end zone for the touchdown is just wild.
Maybe the fan base doesn't want any positivity, but I've seen a lot of stuff like this. Damn, I wish I could be a part of a fan base that has a quarterback like that. A year ago, the Commanders were a joke. They were a joke. Similar to the Texans 2 years ago. They were a joke. Sports hierarchies, sports tiers change every season. So, like, just because you suck this year, and they do suck, no one's trying to dispute that they're not good. Just because you suck this year does not mean your luck cannot turn next year. So, like, as bad as it does suck now, and this is kind of like behind the scenes of radio, but like, it's not easy to go out there, or not a good show to go out there and be like, yeah, the Titans suck. They're going to suck all year. That's the way it is. We know that. That's not good radio. Nobody wants to hear us talk about them like that. But that's the fact. That it is what it is. Teams that have been the Bills before they got Josh Allen were a dumpster fire for so long.
Oh my God, the Lions! Look at the Lions. Lions have been miserable my entire life.
Right. So, like, don't do the woe is me shit where it's like, God, I wish I could have a quarterback like that.
Well, and also they had the original quarterback like that. They had Marcus Mariota, and they ran him out of town. And, you understand what happened.
I'm just saying.
You had that. You already had that. The point is, you haven't had it in a while.
The sun will come out tomorrow. And, this shit sucks. They've got some good building blocks down.
It'll come out in February. I don't know if it'll come out tomorrow, but it'll come out in February.
All you sickos tune in for the James Williams special team snaps. That's what we're here for.
Now, Francis is starting to chirp because it's dinner time. So that means that we have to go. Frank, say hi to the camera. Sweet angel, look at her. She's a face for broadcast. How about it, Francis?
Give me some of that. Give me a kiss of that.
Sweet girl. All right. It's dinner time for Frank. That's going to do it for us tonight. Bert's got to get naked. We have things to do. Enjoy the World Series. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Bert, hit the video because I got a cat that's about to claw my face off. Ah!
Watch this child.